Oh,吓死我了. That was scary, guys. I'm scared. Alright, welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Today we are talking about the TJ Exclusives Cerapad kin. So, what are the important things to note first? This is the single most expensive mousepad I have ever owned. Now, how much does it cost? 270 Australian dollars from Ausmodshop. Thankfully, I got this one for free because I won it in a giveaway on Twitter. So shout out to TJ Exclusives for getting this through to me. He had to ship this straight from America, and just based off the way it was packaged, the weight of this thing, I'll show you guys the photos as well. The shipping would have been crazy expensive if not for the mousepad already. I'll be damned, this is quite something. The Cerapad kin is a glass core ceramic coated hard mousepad. Now, I have never actually properly used a hard mousepad before, and most of them are known to be extremely fast with almost little to no friction at all whatsoever. Pure glide. It's mostly for people who love tracking based games or aim trainers and they just go crazy with it. People believe if you have a mousepad like that and you gotta move the mouse around, there's no mousepad to help you with your control. Everything is purely up to your hands. So the aimers, to an extent, love that kind of stuff and therefore train their own control over a mouse. I have never really been able to access one, especially because all the hard mousepads are also really expensive. They're not really available here. They are now. Hopefully I'll get a SkyPad 3.0 in later to test it as well. Back to the details. Glass core, ceramic surface, which means in theory this mousepad should last you forever. It doesn't actually wear out, unlike cloth mousepads that do. Surprisingly though, this does have a break-in period, and once you pass that break-in period, it becomes pretty much the same for the rest of its lifetime. Supposedly, because it's not like I've tested this for a lifetime yet. Now, there's two sizes. I got the smaller one. This is 505 x 405, and the other option is 610 x 405 as well. It is a glass mousepad. It is ceramic coated. You'd expect it to weigh a lot, and by all means, it is definitely also the heaviest mousepad I've ever picked up. It has solid 4-corner rubber bases under the pad, which means that combined with the heavy weight, and when you guys press down on the mousepad, it does not move at all either, so there's nothing to worry about there. The build quality is extremely premium. You can tell that TJ put so much effort into making these things that the build quality is just exceptional. There's nothing I can fault it on. Even this logo here is nicely printed on it, so it is a bit textured. You can actually touch the logo and feel it, but other than that, it doesn't need stitched edges because it's not cloth, doesn't need anything. It's just all around great. As soon as I took this out of the box, I was like, this is a premium mousepad. This is the most premium mousepad I've ever touched. I would never have imagined that someone will go to an extent to make mousepads like this. But then, I guess, to a lot of people, they'll also be like, I never thought people would make headphones like the ones I have over there that you can go see in my setup tour that are like 7,000 Australian dollars, and you're like, headphones can be that much? Well, looks like there's always a market for something of extreme prices and overbuilt and premium and craftsmanship and whatever the hell you want to call it. So let's go more into how this thing performs, right? We're all about the performance here, and that's what matters at the end of the day. This mousepad is still somewhat sticky to the skin, depending on the conditions. So in a humid environment, or when you are getting a little bit hot and sweating a bit, your arm and your skin does drag on this. Now, I do know that this was a bigger issue on the previous Cerapad before this kin version, and this one has significantly reduced that stickiness to the skin, but at least to me, when I was in a hot Australian day and my hands are getting a bit sweaty and so on, it still got a bit sticky. On days like now where it's cool, or after I just took a shower or put some baby powder on, whatever, it's smooth, it's fine, and it actually feels so good. I think this is the best thing I've actually felt to touch as well. Personally, with that being said, I'm still not the biggest fan because during some intense gaming sessions or at night when my windows are closed and I have multiple devices in the room on and they're all mini heaters, you know, the PC, the monitor, if you watch the monitor review, you know that the monitor gets hot as well. That's why there's a fan in it. The amplifier, the DAC, this other monitor, like all of these things bring the temperature right up. And so I do actually get a bit sweaty regardless, and that sometimes causes stickiness. You also know I do play with an arm sleeve. An arm sleeve definitely fixes all problems. However, the wrist / the back palm of my hand is still going to be touching the mousepad, and therefore that part can still occasionally get stuck, which means that I can't really move my wrist around as much as I want to. Another fix I can think of that is if I got the full-length arm sleeves, the ones that cover your hands as well and only leave your fingers, but I'm not a big fan of that because I like to feel the back of my mouse and it needs to be in my palm for me to actually have a stable grip over it. The next thing is, I've only tried the PTFE skates on this mousepad, mostly core pads. As you can see, I have core pads on both of these. Also, stay tuned, there will be a DAV3 review coming out, but listen to this. Right, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that scratchy noise when you put the mouse on this mouse pad. Now, obviously, in-game, the sound is not going to make a difference because you'll have IAMs or you have headphones on and you can't actually hear the scratchiness. But on times like this, when I don't have anything inside my ears and I'm just browsing or using my computer like a computer, I really don't like that scratchy noise. It's kind of like someone scratching the car door or something like that, and you know, that screeching kind of thing, it really irritates me. Speaking of which, it also eats at skates really fast, so if you want a fast way to break in your skates, get one of these. Just do this for like 5 minutes and then you're good to go. You can use this as a grinding stone and pretend your mouse is the knife and you just, yeah, alright, good to go. Now you can put it onto the cloth pad and start using it. Talking about actual glide. The glide is smooth, alright? It is so smooth. There is no texture, and this is like my favorite kind of feeling for a mousepad possible. I love the smooth and no texture feeling. That is my preference, and this is that. Right, when I was moving the mouse around, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is so nice. However, it's still somehow a control pad. So normally with the other ones, with the other hard pads, they all become real fast. And that's why people are like, oh, it's smooth. Well, this one is super smooth, but I don't know how they made a pad like this to be a control pad. So whatever TJ did is pretty much magical. Because you pick up a mouse pad like this, you give it a few swipes, you're like, how? How is this thing not just flying out into Narnia? I don't understand. I don't understand how this can be a control pad, because it is, but it doesn't feel like one. It's really hard to describe. But anyway, the glide is super smooth, but it's still a control pad, especially when you push down onto the mouse. So when you're playing and you do a flick and you push down hard, or at least I push down really hard, it becomes extremely controlled, almost as if you can't move the mouse around. So I'm not actually a big fan of that because it kind of messes with my micro adjustments in the intense times. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean it turns into absolute mud, but it really just depends on how much force you push down. That makes it really special because you would imagine a hard pad doesn't really give or take anything when you push down onto it. But somehow putting pressure, your varying levels of pressure on the mouse into the mouse pad still do affect the level of control you get. So I still think it's a very unique feeling. I really can't describe this feeling or make any comparisons, but I think this mousepad is really good for people who don't actually push down too much, because if you push down really hard, it does kind of become inconsistent with how you'd expect it to move in terms of how normal glide and moving around would be versus once you've pressed down and you're trying to do micros, the contrast is really big. Some people might like that contrast, but in general, that contrast is a bit too much for me. I feel like if you're a fingertip gripper and you just do this all the time and you don't really push down hard at all times, then you'll be perfectly fine with this. So it's a very strange mousepad, not necessarily in a bad way. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of actually playing on this because I feel like my micro adjustments are really off, but tracking on this was really nice. When I went to do a bit of tracking test, it's not like I'm pushing down all the time and I'm tensing up. I can consciously relax myself to just like play around with that smooth glide, and I was like, yeah, this is great. Quick glide test. So as you can see, it's actually a control pad because I'm assuming on something like a Skypad 3.0, it's supposed to just go flying off like that. But this is actually surprisingly good, right? It's really controlled. Now, I think this mousepad is for someone with, first of all, very deep pockets. Because not everyone is going to go around and spend this kind of money on a mousepad. Most people won't even pay this for a headphone or a mouse, and you're telling me you want to do it on a mousepad? And second of all, you need to be a person who is willing to commit to the pad, or you need to train yourself to adjust the way you use the pad so that you're not pressing down too hard like I do. So there's a thing we talk about. When I get into this intense moments, do a flick and you tense up. You know, I grip the mouse really hard and I push down really hard and all of that, because those are the intense moments. If you don't want to do that and you want to train yourself to not do that, then you need to first of all start with conscious awareness that you are doing such actions, and then repeatedly tell yourself not to in those moments, even if it means you fail in the game. And therefore, you need to train yourself to do that if you want to make the most of this mousepad. For the collectors out there, or the people who aren't really as competitive, and they don't care, they're just like, oh, I have money and I want something extremely special and premium, and I don't really care too much about being the best player. I just want that experience. This is it. Fingertip players can ignore that because I don't really think any fingertip players push down on the mouse too much. Unless I'm wrong and fingertip players all somehow have the strongest fingers, you know what those hands do, and they use their fingers and push down into the mousepad, and I don't get it. But if you're someone special like that, maybe that's something you need to consider. But anyway, the short summary, good mousepad. Not my preferred thing, very special. That'll be the end of the review. Is this mousepad worth it? 100% if you are after that premium build quality and all of the extra premium stuff. But in terms of raw performance, it's nothing too special, unlike any other good mousepad on the market these days, because the mousepads are getting really good. So take that as you will. I like this item. I'm probably going to keep it as a collector's item, bring it out occasionally. But other than that, I don't see myself actually maining this to be used. Right, thank you guys for watching. Love you, TJ Exclusives. Keep making these. The new colors are really nice. I wish I can get my hands on those. But you know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. If you watch this video and there's something I've said that you disagree with or whatnot, please let me know and we can look into it a bit more. Right, peace.